Welcome to the Be Magnetic podcast, where we ignite deep abundance and step into soul-led success without losing joy, freedom, or peace. This is for the woman who is bored, disconnected, and exhausted trying to win a game she doesn't want to play anymore. If your soul is calling for more flow, more ease, more magic, but you're not sure how to get there, get ready to become magnetic and create a life that is as juicy and abundant as you've always dreamed it could be. Hi, and welcome back to the podcast. Today we are talking about 9 feminine codes that take you from exhaustion to expansion fast. If you feel exhausted trying to win a game that you don't want to play anymore, and you crave expansion, ascension, and this juicy, warm feeling of accomplishment, this episode is for you. When I was ready to quit my business in the end of 2023 because I was so exhausted and I just didn't want to do this anymore. I felt like I had been competing, I had been playing a game, trying to win it, that honestly I didn't really want to win deep down inside. I wish someone had told me these things, but instead I went on an almost 2-year-long journey to figure out myself. And I see so many women who are severely dysregulated. They want to make a difference. They know that they're here to really change something in the world, but they are unable to because they can't even keep up with themselves and their lives and their responsibilities. Or they're so deeply in their masculine that the only true thing that they can change is something that AI can do for you these days. And that is not what you're here for. This is not what you're capable of. You hold a power within you that even you have no idea about. And there is a degree of joy and freedom accessible to you that you could not make up in your wildest dreams. And I'm about to share these 9 feminine codes that will help you to unlock them. So if you're feeling exhausted, if you're done playing this game, and you want to just have this juicy sense of I'm on my path, I'm living my purpose, I am achieving my dreams, but in a way that feels truly aligned with who I am, let's dive in. Another aspect of this is these 9 feminine codes are so powerful that even the last few days where my life has been so wild, honestly, and I felt more dysregulated and more exhausted and stressed than usual, I tend to those, and they help me calm my mind, they help me center myself. These are things that I do over and over again to return to my feminine essence, to move from exhaustion to expansion. And I've been implementing them over the last few months, as well as I've been navigating the visa process, navigating becoming a mum and everything that entails, and trying to juggle so many different hats and so many different responsibilities, which I believe we can all resonate with. Like, we all are so multidimensional and we all have so many things that we need to do and that we need to be. And so my hope for this episode for you is that with these 9 feminine codes, you are going to be able to actually have a really good game plan to regulate yourself again, to prevent yourself from falling back into these old masculine patterns that we all know aren't really how we are designed to live or lead. So these are the exact same things that I am doing every time, that I have been doing over the last few weeks. The first feminine code that's going to take you from exhaustion to expansion is to create space to be. The reason why this is so important is because this will allow for this inspiration to come through, which then will lead to expansive action, right? So I've noticed this myself recently. I felt so much resistance towards creating, towards even, jumping on here, recording podcast episodes, because I've been so drained. I've been so exhausted that I could not bother doing all of this. Like, my inspiration has been somewhere else. And so if we create this space, that is where we can actually then let this inspiration flow to us, and where we can then put ourselves on a frequency where the actions that we're taking and the things that we're doing are then turning into this expansive action that will result into wonderful outcomes. And I know that for a lot of us, it's kind of difficult to create this space because there's always something to do. There's always something that needs our attention, especially when you have kids. Like, honestly, there's been such a big worry of mine recently where I'm like, when my stepdaughter's here, how am I going to create this space? And something that I have been implementing in my life, for example, is to either go to like events like cacao ceremonies or sister circles, or other, tailored spaces that allow you to reconnect, that bring in that little bit of peace and space into your life. Or you, like, if you can't do something in person, you can do it online, right? Get yourself a sound healing, or just a intuitive reading or something like that helps you to center, or even just doing a meditation, right? All these things can be so incredibly beneficial to create this space in your life. The next feminine code is to nurture yourself. And I think, alongside having space and having time and energy to actually like be present with what we want to do and what we want to accomplish, I think it's so important that we have the energy to do so. We need to be making time for ourselves to take care of our own well-being, and that then again will increase our capability to hold things, including success, right? If you, for example, if you are constantly on the go, constantly doing things, constantly getting stuff done, and you don't have time to meditate, you don't have time to get ready properly, you don't have time to actually process, to sit for a moment, to just breathe, then at the end of the day, you're going to feel exhausted. And if you do this for multiple days or weeks or months or years even, then you're going to feel very exhausted and very drained. And you're going to have less energy available to actually deal with new responsibilities that are being added on your plate. Like, I've had this experience yesterday where I was not energized anymore. Like, everything I wanted was just to like sit down and like rest. And my mum came and said, like, needed help with something, and then my husband came and needed help with something. And I've noticed every time someone else came or something else came up, I was just like, my capacity was filled, like it was tapped. I didn't have space to hold anything anymore because I literally didn't have energy. And so if we want to hold more success, if we want to hold more joy, more happiness, more money, anything, we need to increase our capacity to hold things. And we do this by taking care of ourselves, by actually nurturing ourselves and making sure that our cups are full, that we are energized. This will make you so magnetic because you're going to be able to then face everything that's going to be, brought your way. You're going to be able to welcome it openly. You're going to be able to deal with it with a positive energy rather than resistance and frustration and stress and overwhelm. If you want to learn more about this, I've got a couple incredible episodes as well that dive deeper into this topic. I will link all of the related episodes in the show notes below, but this specifically is episode 50, which is called Unlock the Secret to Feeling Lit, Light and Free. So if you want to dive deeper into this after this episode, make sure to stop by the show notes and just check out the related episodes. These are all episodes that dive deeper into the things that we touch on here. The third feminine code is to trust in the unfolding of your path. A big reason why often we are exhausted and stressed is because we are trying to control everything. We're trying to be on top of everything, and we believe that we have to manage everything by ourselves, and that is not true. If we were able to just surrender a little bit more and trust the unfolding, trust the fact that everything is going to work out a little bit more, then we could also actually just energetically release some of that, because oftentimes, if we're being honest, we could do much more like time-wise, but we can't do it energetically because we're actually so stressed and so exhausted. So if we just let go of some of that energetic load, we can use our time more intentionally. And again, we can either use it to have fun and to enjoy life and to nurture ourselves and to thrive, or we can use it, if we want to do that, to create and to move forward on our path. And honestly, this has been something that has come up a lot within my client conversations. A client of mine recently brought this to my attention, that she's feeling that she constantly needs to catch up, and that she has been working so hard over the last few weeks to get caught up and to get back on track. And she's not been the only one. This has been a conversation that I've heard over and over again over the years, from friends, from clients, even myself. I've been using those words to express my state. But I do believe that instead of trying to catch up all the time, why can't we just trust that we are going to catch up anyway, that we are actually exactly where we need to be, that this is the divine unfolding of our path. And to share a bit more of a specific example with you, like related to money, for example, sometimes money fluctuates, that you have like an intention of how much you want to make, because you have things to save up for, or you have bills to pay, and you kind of plan for it, and then you don't make the exact amount of money, you make a little bit less. And the same thing happened to me earlier this year, where I had kind of my vision, my intention set for how much I wanted to make that month, and I felt slightly short. And a lot of people would go and worry about that, they would go and stress about that, they would go and feel like they needed to catch up. But I didn't, because I have learned to cultivate this trust that it's going to catch up by itself, it's going to sort itself out. And is also something that I shared with my client back then, when she said she feels like she needed to catch up all the time. Trust that things will sort themselves out, and they always do. For me, for example, this looked like the photo shoot that I had intended to do, that I obviously set aside money for, or dedicated money to, ended up not happening because I realized I didn't really need it. There's other opportunities through which I could get the photos. And so I actually saved that bunch of money, which ended up being exactly the amount that I had thought I needed to catch up on. So these are just examples on how it all in the end kind of sorts itself out if we just if we just trust the unfolding of our path. So if you're worried that you are behind, that you need to catch up, and that's that's stressing you, and that's adding to that exhaustion because it's energetic load, let go of it. Trust that it's all going to sort itself out. It's all going to work out eventually in your favor. Okay, the next energetic feminine code is to regulate your nervous system. Just another way of increasing your capacity to hold things, right? When we are exhausted, our nervous system is overstimulated, and sometimes so much so that we literally just can't anymore. And so we have a full-blown nervous system breakdown, or we just get very bitchy and not nice to be around, or we just push things away even though they are great opportunities because we just cannot more. So regulating our nervous system has multiple benefits. For one, it makes us feel less fried. So when you start regulating your nervous system throughout the day, and you give yourself those breaks where you can actually tune in and calm yourself down, you at the end of the day will feel less exhausted, you feel more energized, and you'll actually be able to spend time with your partner or do your self-care ritual or things like that, which again add in different ways, like we discussed before, to your life. But it will also help you to, again, respond differently to when there's more responsibilities coming your way, or when there's things changing, or even just respond differently to anything in your life. So make sure to regulate your nervous system. I've also recorded a in-depth episode on 5 ways to regulate your nervous system. Make sure to check that out. It's literally titled like this. So make sure to go search that. The next feminine code is to step into goddess energy. So this is something that I've been playing a lot with recently, because I feel like we can still always show up differently. There's still like so much potential within all of us that is untapped, that we have not unlocked, that we have not accessed yet. And I've realized that as I've been, constantly reflecting and just like thinking about where I want to go and how I want to keep showing up, and like even every single time I sit down and think about what type of content I want to create, this is something that's kept coming up, where I was like, I know I am capable of more. I know that if I show up a bit more like who I really am, it's not like I'm not showing up the way I really am, I do, but I think that there is potential within me that even I have not accessed yet. And that is kind of my goddess energy, right? So we all have this powerful magnetism within us, this energy, this essence that in itself is so freaking magnetic to joy, expansion, abundance, to anything that we really crave in life. And even just the natural way we're designed as women is such a powerful tool to lead and to create the change that we want to see in the world. And I think we can use more of that, because if we do tap into this natural desire, this, just some grounded examples, collaborating with other women, or like making everything in life a ceremony, a little ritual, something intentional. These are inherent, like feminine codes that we all carry, that we all are capable of creating. And if we do create these collaborations and these ceremonies, these rituals, then we add a certain type of magic to our environment that people are going to be attracted to, and we're gonna send out a different frequency, right? And so goddess energy obviously is so much, it's so big, but you're gonna show up more confident, you're gonna show up more certain, you're gonna show up more attractive, like more magnetic. And so the way the world responds to you will also shift, and that creates an entirely different dynamic, where when you show up with force, when you show up with like exhaustion and stress, the world is gonna show up differently, which then makes you feel differently, and which then creates this dynamic of everything feels hard and everything feels forced and everything feels heavy, which is not what we desire. What we desire is for it to feel light, for it to feel effortless, for it to feel fun. And when we show up with this goddess energy, with this confidence, with this magnetism, then we actually create this resonance that then makes life feel fun and easy and flowy and all of that. What goddess energy is and how you can tap into this, I've also tapped into in another episode, but this will help you to shift your frequency, and it's gonna move you from exhaustion to expansion, because it's gonna change the way the world feels to you and the way the world responds to you, because you send out a different frequency and the world then mirrors that back to you. I believe 5th feminine code is to give yourself permission to follow your joy. And this is kind of on a similar note, where how you show up determines the energy that you get back. So when you send out love, gratitude, joy, then what you're gonna get back is love, gratitude, joy. And so a lot of times, especially if you're a generator in human design, but I do believe it's true for anyone really, even for guys as well, when you do things that drain you, that you don't like doing, then it's gonna rob you a little bit of your life force energy, because you're gonna require more energy to actually show up to doing it, versus the energy that you would need to show up to doing things that you actually enjoy and that you would do even if you didn't have to do them. So whenever you have the chance, give yourself permission to follow the joy. And I know that a lot of us feel like we can't, because there are so many things that we have to do that we don't like to do. But I do believe that there's always something that you can do to make this fun, to make this joyful. And even if it's just like lighting a candle or making like a mini ritual out of it, like make this whole process a joyful one so that you feel actually energized by it. But also with like the bigger scheme of things, if there is something in your business, for example, or if there's like a way of leading in life, which is probably the case because otherwise you wouldn't listen to this episode. If you feel like this is not working for you anymore, then give yourself permission to follow your joy, to follow what feels more aligned, right? And if that means you have to restructure your entire business, or you have to say goodbye to certain projects, so be it. The important thing is that you follow your joy, that you do what lights you up and what feels truly exciting to you, because when you do that, it's going to feel more effortless, and then it's not going to drain your energy, and so you're going to feel more expanded instead of exhausted. Number 7 is to lead by example. So you know how there's this very well-known saying that you are the 5 people closest to you. So what this basically says is that we are our environment, and our environment influences us. And some of us are more influenced by our environment, others are less. It depends sometimes also how receptive you are to energy. But just as much as how you are influenced by your environment is influenced by you. So if you feel like you're leading or living a life or a business that feels exhausting, that is not quite what you had imagined, then change the way you lead in it. Lead by example. Lead in a way that creates the reality that you actually desire. And the best example for this is in my relationship. For example, for the last months, I have been really leading with my masculine energy. I've been really taking charge of things, which ended up making me feel exhausted because I was holding just even more, and I was responsible for even more when everything I wanted was just to give away this responsibility. And so in order to change those circumstances, I had to lead differently. I had to lead by an example that I wanted to become, that I wanted to for my husband to mirror, right? So instead of telling him like, can you do more responsibilities, or can you take more charge of things, which almost never works, what I did was instead I tapped into this goddess energy and I led by example. So maybe it's hard to find words to explain what I'm meaning, because it's like an energetic shift that happens, but what you're doing is basically you're shifting the way you're showing up. So instead of then taking charge of all responsibilities, I started to instead let him do his thing, and I just trusted that it's all gonna kind of work out, and I led by not doing, basically. I'm not sure if that makes sense, but what I want to say is show up differently, like lead with a different energy, try a different way to approach things so that you give room for the things around you, for environment to adjust and for your environment to shift things around you so that they match the new way in which you lead. Number 8 is to romanticize life more. So again, a beautiful woman that I absolutely look up to. She has this tagline, her kind of life motto that she lives by is the feminine urge to make life a ceremony. And this resonates so deeply with me because I do believe that we as women are designed to make life beautiful. Some of us more, some of us less. It also depends on our personal kind of design, but at the end of the day, we all desire beauty, we all desire like flow, something gorgeous, something aesthetic, something nice. And even if we are not here to create that, we still like to enjoy it. So in order to make yourself feel more expansive and make yourself feel more relaxed and grounded, start romanticizing your life more. Start to include little rituals, little ceremonies, little things that, again, spark that joy, that spark that groundedness, that spark that peace within you. And if that's like a morning routine or an evening routine or like a mindful walk during the day or just lighting candles for everything, do something that allows you to feel a bit more of that magic, a bit more of that lightness, because the more you include that in your life, the more kind of little reminders you have of like, actually my life is peaceful, actually I have a choice to choose to approach this differently right now. And it's also, these things also help you to regulate your nervous system and then again calm your body and like move away from this constant overstimulation, which is essentially the reason for why you're exhausted. And then number 9 is to surrender to the unfolding of life. And this is such an important one, which kind of brings this full circle and also touches on what I said earlier. A big reason for why we are exhausted and overstimulated is because we hold too much, or at least it feels that way, and there's only 2 things we can do. We can expand our capacity to hold things, which we do by getting better at regulating our nervous system, and the other way is to surrender, to let things go. And that's kind of also what I meant with lead by example. Surrender things and allow them to be taken care of, right? Instead of like leading with in a way that you're constantly on, you're constantly in charge, and like everyone around you basically know you've got your shit together and you're taking care of anything anyway. Just drop it, let it go, let it be taken care of, right? Surrender. Because if we surrender, then we liberate ourselves from the energetic and the mental and sometimes even the physical load of having to hold everything. And then we can see what maybe gets taken care of without needing us. And that way we can also change the overall circumstances of our lives, because only when we surrender we notice what we actually need to hold, or what we've just been holding because we thought we needed to, but we don't actually do. So this is such a beautiful practice to get into, to really audit your life and initiate the changes that you want to see to a bit more of a balanced and feminine lifestyle that you have been craving, that in the end when you live that lifestyle you feel so much more expanded and so less exhausted. I want to finish this episode by telling you that you deserve everything that you desire, including the soul-led success that you have been craving, but you have to allow yourself to go there. You have to allow yourself to have that, and in order to fully allow yourself to do that, you have to implement these feminine codes that we've been discussing today. And if you're ready for the next step, then DM me Unbecoming and I'll share your next step with you. If this resonated and you loved it, make sure to screenshot this, tag me, and share your biggest takeaway. And make sure to stop by the show notes for any related episodes and deep dives into everything that we have discussed today. Thank you so much for tuning in, and until next time, bye.